was manager of the mines at that time. Oh, yes, he said, yes, I'll be all right. And I went on doing tipping work, that's handling the clay that come out from the mines. And then, as the time went on, I thought to myself, well, seeing these men working shorter hours underground, I'd ask the foreman if he'd give me a start. And plucked up courage to ask the old foreman, oh, could I go underground? I'd like to go underground piecework. Sonny, he said, you think it over, he said. You won't be much better off, he said. You think it over, he said. You won't have them rosy cheeks, he said, you've got now, he said. Oh, no, you think it over. However, I finally did, and in fact, I went on with the foreman's son. The wages, well, that would vary considerably. It all depends on the type of fish you had to work in, and the quantity, the tonnage you could get out was all paid on a piecework basis. Naturally, the larger tonnage you could get out, the better wage packet you could have. But you had to take the rough with the smooth. And there was plenty of both. Previous to midway between 1940 and 50, within a year or two either way, the production then from the mines was got out by hand picks. The men used to swing them over their shoulder, a right-handed man over his left shoulder, a left-handed man over his right shoulder. And that's how the clay was produced. And they'd wear out the tools in a matter of an hour or two. The corners would go off and make them rounded instead of a sharp, pointed corner. After they was rounded, they was pretty well useless. You couldn't do anything with them. You might as well throw them away. You had to take up another one, a fresh, what we used to call dressed pick. And the corners was as sharp as a needle. And they'd shine brilliant. And the shovel was just the same. Brian, lift out and get a wagon. I want this door to come and gone. Don't be gone no longer than hell, because then I want to get the top in so we can get a set of girders up. Look sharp.
Morning, Tom.
Morning.
Not very bright up top this morning.
No,
What's it like here this morning?
I don't think it's very bright anywhere. It's poor times.
Oh.
Yeah.
What's the ceiling like today?
Oh, didn't do bad. I tried it first thing. We're nearly on fire. We have to get another set up. We'll do it as soon as we can. Oh, that's all right. That'll last. Yeah, that's all
see,
right.
one or two more struts in here, Tom, in this arch here to keep the thing a bit rigid.
I'm going to put some stout slab over there.
What's the staining like this morning?
Well, there's none of that common. What have you got up overhead there?
Oh, it's some very good clay up overhead. There's 4 or 5 feet of it, actually.
Well, why don't you run your bottom up a bit more than do without...
Well, I didn't want to run up because there's a ventilation lane coming from green specks through, which if we run up, we may miss it, you see. I want to hit it square. So we must keep down on a low keel.
Well, then you'll have to put up with having so much common, won't you?
There's a bit of good clay up there.
Oh, that's all right, quite all right.
Very
Here's
good
the
clay.
tough list, you're look.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you tested for gas this morning?
No.
Well, that seemed all right, Tom.
Yeah.
I think you better get some more slabbing down through here, Tom.
Yeah, I will do.
So
Enough
get
room.
that hole covered in here. You see.
Get enough room up in front to get it, slip it back. Want something stout.
Other than that, I don't think it's too bad.
No.
Dorset clay is a variable harvest. The seam can lie vertical or horizontal. Sometimes it's deep, sometimes it's shallow. And all the time, there are 2 drilling rigs searching for new deposits.
That'll do, Charlie. Let's have her out.
Well, I'm known locally as Old Bill Marshalsea. And Marshalsea's name has been associated with clay, I believe, ever since there was any clay got out here. I can remember my grandfather, he worked here. I've heard that my great-grandfather worked here. My father worked here. I've got 4 brothers now working on the firm. At the present time, we are born on a place called Ridge Heath. And the overburden there is somewhere about 100 feet. On average, the holes run about 130, 140 feet deep. When we got down to the clays, we changed tools. We put on a core barrel then, and we do about 5 feet at a time. We bring up the core barrel and empty it out. Well, out of that 5 feet, we make 5 samples.
All right, man. Look, just about time we put up a set of timber. Have we got one there ready?
Sure.
Despite all the modern improvements we've got in the mines today, such as spades and improved timbering conditions, arches and so forth, much better lanes than we used to have. Chaps we do get come in the mines, there's been other jobs, they've come for a few days and they've finished. But I think the main thing that we must get down to the fact is that in years to come, unless we do something to attract the young teenagers, 15, into the mines, I think we're going to be lost. Years ago, we did have a few boys starting in the mine, straight from school age, 14 then, not 15 now. But then, of course, we had different mines than what we got today. We had some more level mines. What I mean level mines is a flat seam. At the present time, we get none from school at all. For the simple reason is, we've got nowhere to put them. Well, that's right, Raymond. That's a set of timber up. That's a very good set. Now I think it's a long way. We'd better put on a pair of rails now. I suggest that we should have a training mine so that we could bring them in from school leaving age, whereby we could make a little haven of peace for them to start with, such as smaller wagons, smaller spades. Wagon wheels is another thing. We've got the same wheels on the wagons today, the same as we used to 100 years ago. Well, I think that to make a good miner, I think you've got to be prepared to work. And not only to work, I think you've got to be prepared that you're going to stick it. There's no good sitting down or hanging about. You must be prepared to work to be a good miner.
Clay mining is much easier, of course, when the seam is within 20 or 30 feet of the surface. When this happens, the miners can abandon their safety lamps and helmets altogether. All they have to do in open cast mining is to take off the topsoil, dig out the clay, dump it in buckets, and take it away. And of course the open cast mine is much more economic. No tunnels to dig, no shafts to sink, no wagons to push, and no pit props to put up. Above all, the miners can take out every single ton of clay that there is. They're not restricted by the 6-foot height of a subterranean tunnel. Given good weather and good conditions, open cast miners will dig anything up to 40 tons of clay each, every day. They're on piecework, of course.
We've been talking about output per man per day in the mines. You'll get one mine with perhaps a very, very hard clay. In that case, they may vary from 8 to 10, 12 wagons per day per man. Whereas you'll get another mine with a very soft plastic clay, which is much easier to cut, no shoveling to do, easy to load in the wagons. Well, he can get 15 to 20 wagons per day.
Brian, I think if you take all that wagon now, look sharp, bring back empty. It's just about time then, by the time we got back here, we should have our food time then.
Years ago, all the clay in the pits was shifted by steam engines. The first day I was rope running on the steam engine, the old driver, old Tom Stockley, was taken ill, and he said, Eli, he said, you'll have to take the engine, I got to go home. And I took it on. I thought to myself, well, the injector, I don't understand that, getting water in the boiler. But anyway, I fiddled about there and got on very well, and been at it ever since. Diesel and steam, steam and diesel. Up at Norden, we had to take the clay from the mines across the Corfe Castle Wareham Road up to the tip where they tip it in the lorries. The boy get out with the red flag, and I blow the hooter on the engine. I don't know where the car drivers hear it or where they don't. You got a sign there, one sign put up. But sometimes they come around that corner there 70 mile an hour, I know.
50 years ago, or even 30 years ago, you wouldn't have seen anything like this. In those days, all they did was sort the good clay from the bad, stack it in heaps, pour water on it now and then, turn it over when they felt like it, and then sell it. Nowadays, much of the romance disappears up a conveyor belt. Most of these men have seen a revolution in clay. They've got machines for shredding it, machines for stacking it, drying it, grinding it down to powder, and, final in dignity, putting it into paper sacks. Clay mining is now big business, and yet it is still an industry that depends on inherited skill and sheer hard work.
Is that you, Ray?
Yeah!
Everything all right?
Aye!